All right, Mr. Kurt. I made some notes on your videos, so I'll just go ahead and list. You start off by saying that 90 to 95% of politicians are completely bought and paid for, um, and I think on there's some sense in which I can see where you're coming from this. On the other hand, I think you are being a bit unfair, and I think you are very generally being caught in very stark black and white good versus evil mentality, which is exactly what spiritual growth is supposed to help us overcome. And I think there's some bad guys in our society that it's very easy to get caught up in that, of politicians, bankers. I do it sometimes too, but um, I think that politicians usually have like 5 or 6 issues that they care about deeply, and then there's other issues where they where they can be convinced by where issues where they don't necessarily have care about, and sometimes the convincing comes from moneyed interests. Um, yeah, and there's also because of our campaign financing system. Um, the politicians can. So sometimes a politician may believe what they say, but the the corporate funders will choose which one has beliefs that correspond to their interests, and just fund that candidate. So I mean that's and I think also both of us are focusing mostly on the U.S. Not realizing there are other countries in the world that have public financing laws um, and don't have as many of these problems. I think a lot of European parliaments, although I would certainly have my criticisms of them, they the problems that face them are much more to do with ideology than with money. Um, so so anyway, we would talk about job applications, applying for a job versus being recruited for a job. And yeah, I mean, the truth is, in a lot of campaigns, there are campaigns to get a politician to run. They'll have like um, draft so and so, bring get them, so it's public pressure to get someone to run. So this does happen, but so rarely does this happen. I mean, so most people don't, you know, most people don't know the good politicians out there. I mean, and people who are leaders in other fields aren't necessarily going to be good leaders in politics. Um, so I mean, and even if we're having election of ideas, voting on ideas, the people the average person isn't necessarily going to be more informed about these ideas than the politician is. But a politician, so I mean, what we need to do is elect leaders who we think would be good at listening to the ideas of others and evaluating them. Now you bring up the issue of immigration, and I pretty much agree with everything you say about what the sources of that problem. A lot of people disagree. I mean, if we were to have a democratic election on the issue of immigration, um, people would not be swayed by our side, most likely. I mean, that's why you need to have you need to campaign to the public, about and educate them, um, and as far as the scarcity mentality, we obviously that will help transform people's consciousness. And I say lower stages of consciousness, and you say it's just fear. I say potato, you say potato. It's basically fear prevents us from spiritual growth. I would say, but um, it seems to me that just when you talk about how compromise is a bad thing on that, I perhaps it was I shouldn't have used the word compromise to describe politics. I think building consensus would be the better way of describing it. Yeah, the point is that we live in a world where people have genuine disagreements, just like you and I are having a disagreement right now. Um, and you know, theoretically, I could just set up a political system which says you're wrong, I'm right, and you're just gonna and you just have to be forced to agree with my opinion. But that's not how good politics works. But good politics, well, we'll be able to listen to both sides, and try to weigh the positives and negatives, and um, yeah, either rule in one side's favor or try to work out a compromise that works for both of us. So that's how that's how it works. I mean, um, yeah, and you say that that there is no politics without money and corruption. I just can't tell you how much I disagree with that. I mean, politics is governance, it's leadership, it's trying to work with different factions with different ideas that people have and try to find something that works for everyone. And of course that's ultimately a possibility. Nothing works for everyone. There's always going to be disagreements, but we have to work out the best agreement we can, and that's why politics is a necessary thing. Um, and you talk about sacrificial leaders, leaders that are selected, and then um, instead of self-selecting. The ideas you're talking about here are not new. I mean, it's basically Plato's Republic all over again, which was written a couple thousand years ago. That was actually a very authoritarian system Plato was advocating. That the leaders are, the leaders are recruited from among the people and then trained in these academies and brought up to be philosopher kings. There were no checks and balances in that system. There was no election among the people. In fact, Plato was contemptuous of democracy, which I don't know the degree to which you're contemptuous of democracy. You don't seem to have a lot of respect for it with this video. But basically, I mean, I can assert that my ideas are right and say that we ought to implement them all, and because compromising is evil, and and then I'd be basically the current Republican Party if I were that. But otherwise, I can say, okay, we have our disagreements. We need people who can listen to both sides and build consensus, try to argue their case, and then come out with something that works for all of us. And so that's why I think that the position of politician will have to continue, because the need for that consensus building will continue, and and the work of convincing others will have to go on outside of the halls of Congress, and have people like us having conversations and trying to spread our ideas. But ultimately, the art of consensus building will still need to go on, and that's what I think leaders are for. All right, peace.